Angels around me. Although I am ready to confess a fascination with angels as the harbingers mostly of good news in the scriptures and in the graphic arts and literature, the image of being part of a congregation in which I am surrounded by cherubims and seraphims shan't, in spite of its glorification in high places, ever appeal to me. So if I should speak only of what I know, then my awareness after my mother's passing of her presence around me from time to time is proof positive of angels' salutary existence. Still grieving at her home in St. Thomas y Vale, I was distracted on consecutive mornings by a yellow-breasted Jamaica canary that fluttered importunately on the grill that enclosed the front porch, and even flying inside for no apparent reason. On each occasion over the weeks of this repeated phenomenon, my heart-linked thoughts were overwhelmed by the memory of my mother, and somehow I strongly sensed her reassuring presence. As I recall it, that gave me a sense of peace and anxiety-free quiet, a silent validation that I was on the right track, and come what may, I was going to be okay. As the years passed between 2007 and 2011, whenever I was perturbed about my migration to Florida, the reappearance of this tiny bird subsumed in my thought processes the role of Mother Angel, seemingly watching over my progress as she had done when I, an infant, and my brother, a baby, were daily exposed to the malarial disease crisis in Black River, where my father, the government hospital's pharmacist, resided. She traveled to Kingston and, unbeknownst to my father, headed for the office of the Chief Civil Service Administrator at the Ministry of Health, and personally, and without appointment, presented him with her petition to save us from the grave danger of infection. She, within an hour, had extracted a promise that my father would be promptly transferred to the salubrious climes of Alexandria. That we survived and prospered in the cooler and more wholesome climate of the Garden Parish of St. Anne was, in my opinion, primarily due to her courageous, a la guardian angel, initiative. For the first 10 years of my sojourn in the city of Pembroke Pines, there were no bird visitations, although I can't swear that I may not have cast a random, subconscious, mystical glance at the mesh of our ground floor patio. I assumed that the species was not endemic to Florida, nor was I, in the calm seclusion of Central Village, troubled by any relocation anxiety. However, about 2 years ago, as the stress of the COVID-19 pandemic waned and the stealthy virus of political endangerment raised snake-like its poisonous head, I spied, to my utter surprise, as if she was picking at the door incessantly to make a hole in the mesh and get inside, one of Florida's common yellowthroat, almost indistinguishable from its Jamaican yellow-bellied canary cousin. Political angels. In the previous pages, I have described how I came to know about the existence and performance of an angel that signals when one is on the right track, a sort of vote of confidence, as if the persona behind the angelic apparition were still alive. This works well with a mother figure who is merely continuing the role she has always played vis-à-vis her children. But some have asked me, what about the better angels, which we have heard from politicians and the like? How do they operate? And even before that, what are they like? It's a long story, but it goes back to the first inaugural address of President Lincoln. The times were uncertain, but he wanted to increase the positivity of the Union experiment in the face of rampant undermining of the Union. So he struck a line in the prepared speech which would have called upon help from an angel from the outside rather than the leaders themselves. And so he inserted in his own handwriting the following: I am loath to close. We are not enemies, but friends. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every heart and hearthstone all over this broad land will yet swell the chorus of the union, when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. A better angel in this construal is a composite of those praiseworthy traits within us. They exist alongside of and contest with unworthy traits. I incline to the concept of better angels as existing to promote admirable positive and healing aspects of temperament, or focused inspirationally on what is good and wholesome, summed up in the phrase, better angels of the human heart. But the angels in literature and scripture are usually helpful messengers and bearer of good tidings. This is a true characteristic in my experiences as recalled above. Within this grouping, I would include the silent angels that hang around churches to create an atmosphere that's reverent and holy, and which stands in contrast to the rough and tumble of worldly scenarios. They symbolize the art which caters to the religious, but they lack the gracious movement of human or anthropomorphic symbols, which, based on my single angel experience, have a distinctly deeper significance. Finally, there are the angels that we have come to know and live with through the genius works of artists and sculptors, and are offered up for the spiritual elevation of the human intellect to the greater glory of God. I've seen some of these in the Louvre, for example, and their creative excellence is a source of human inspiration, as they manifest the power, might, and divinity that are God-given and a blessing to all those who come to admire them. The earliest known representation of angels with wings is on what is called the Prince's Sarcophagus, discovered at Sarıgüzel near Istanbul in the 1930s and attributed to the time of Theodosius, 379 to 395. The earliest depiction of a Christian angel is found in the catacombs of Priscilla, a quarry dug around 100 to 400 CE, located on an ancient route from Rome to the Adriatic Sea. My final exhibit is Winged Victory of Samothrace, a sculpture which is a famous and fabulous dramatization displayed at the top of a staircase in the Louvre. I know this topic was not supposed to be a beauty contest for angels, but I am just saying that in all fairness, the common Florida yellowthroat, one of the first bird species to be catalogued from the New World, Geothlypis trichas, if I had to choose, would continue to be a better looking angel by far to have around me.